Solo Leveling Season 2, Episode 9. It was all worth it. And for everyone crying that this anime is only about action, watch this episode, circle back to me, let me know how much action we saw. This episode was packed with information. Let's talk about it. All right, guys, Brent here back for Geek to cover all things Marvel, DC, Lord of the Rings, anime, gaming, Star Wars, and more. This time, solo leveling, and I'll get right to the punch. This episode was fantastic. Sure, it doesn't live up to the traditional solo leveling where we have a god tier character versus another god tier character in an action packed battle where the visual effects are so amazing that your mind is just literally and figuratively blown at the same time. There was so much good stuff happening. I also didn't notice that we didn't have like an actual fight up until I finally finished the episode. I was like, huh, I thoroughly enjoyed it. So another great episode, but now for the man whose opinion you truly care about, Mr. Chaos himself. Your thoughts?
Look, man, this episode was what we needed because you got to think about this in terms of video games. He's playing somebody's game. He's in there. He's doing the stuff. What happens when you first start a game? You start fighting. You're leveling up. You're getting stronger. So with that, at some point in time, you're gonna get a DPS check. You know, they're gonna find out how much damage are you putting out. His last fight was a DPS check for him, and it was by an intervention that helped him get the upper hand. So we already know scaling is going up from here. And because of other things that happened in this episode, it's showing you how far the ceiling is going, throughout the course of the rest of this series. So let's get into it. He beat the monarch, right? He got the monarch blood and he was able to, sit there and do the potion crafting. It was based on his intelligence, which I didn't expect. So it was based on his intelligence on what he was able to craft. I thought he just crafted one potion. He managed to get five out of this thing, right? So five crafted potions. That tells me that this is going to come into play later on. Like he has one potion for sure reserved for his mother. He is going to go take care of her, but he has the other four. Eternal sleep can happen at any point in time. It can happen to someone. You got to have a strong magical constitution to keep that from happening. But again, you got to think about the people in his life that are in danger of this. Again, whether it be his sister, any friends and stuff that he had that aren't on the level that he's at, because he was hanging out with a bunch of you know C ranks and stuff like that beforehand. So all this is probably going to come into play at some point in time.
I mean, he's got a buddy whose father is literally got that sleep going on currently. So it's like we have a potential participant, but again, how this will be utilized because who knows how many monarchs there are, who knows how much of this you're going to get at each time. There's a lot of different variables pertaining to this. So this is one of those items where if you play video games, hoard like the
Hoard
loot
it.
goblin you are.
You're gonna have to hoard it, and again, you just got to set up and put all your best foot forward for everything. And Iron knew what's up because he brought the dead wyvern dragon looking thing. He brought that over. It was like, here you go, boss, handle that. He's like, all right, let me see if I can get that up out of there. And he got Kaisel, so now he's got a winged creature that he can fly on.
He picked up a new
And
whip. He's ready to go.
yep, and he's got the ability to now shadow soldier swap. So now, remember, he left his soldiers back there with, protecting his sister. So now he can swap at any point in time, which would be great for combat and stuff as well. Because if he's in the middle of a fight and he needs to swap places to avoid a bit of damage, just like that, have somebody else take the hit, he come up behind him, or whatever, to hit and attack. He's got options now. So this is going to be a real good skill that he's able to utilize. How fast he's able to utilize it, how many times he's able to utilize it, all that stuff comes into play. But when he was leaving, it said boss defeated, the dungeon reverts back to its original state when he's leaving. So I don't know what that means. Does everything reset? He left Asil there, who was, very, smitten with him, and like, we can go back to the things so that, but he's like, no, I got to go back to my mom, like, now. So did the dungeon reset? Does things get worse? Does that monarch come back? Like, what happens now? Because he didn't get past what, level 80, like on that, like floor 80 or whatever. He was on his way
That's
up
where he
too.
was stuck initially, and then until he got that permit, he was stuck, and then until he eventually got to the top. And level 80 was Easel with that seal, so who
Yeah.
knows
So
ultimately where that's going to reset to.
so that whole dungeon resets. He's got to climb through that again. So whatever the case may be, if he needs to come back in there again, we don't know. So these are a lot of things that are just happening. Just like, all right, you got to think about this stuff. Like, what is the outcome as far as his combat proficiency within this realm is? What is this going to do? Like, what else does he have to face? Is there anything else coming up, or are we just going to now focus on Jeju Island and whatever comes of that? So
Because
that's focus.
like
Because
with that going on, we transition over to Hunter Beck. And Hunter Beck
yeah,
picking up with Jeju Island, he's still dealing with the ramifications from the last raid, where it turns out he lost one of his best friends, and he's like, "This is the reason I go. We need to be the ones who defend those who can't defend themselves." He's like, "We have power. We could use this power." And then that was exactly what his buddy was saying when they had their little flashback, because he was like, they lost their best friend Unsong over there, and he was like, "Can you imagine if we're terrified how the people who have zero power feel?" And then for Beck, this resonated on a whole new level, and he was having dinner with another S rank who happened to be a healer who is basically got the Tsunade issue, where it's like, you heal too many people, you seen too much, now you see a little blood, you get a little squeamish. Things have changed rapidly for them. So now it's like, well, unfortunately, we have an S rank on the sideline who's just trying to go get a government job. He's just trying to go live
hmm
his normal life. He's like, I can't do what I used to do. I need to go do something else. And Beck, of course, is super supportive, and he understands, because living that kind of life, things are a little bit differently. He's realizing more than ever that being a hunter, you're the abnormal one. It's a weird profession to be in, and he's been doing it for so long. He's just kind of gotten used to the ins and outs of their profession, and then we kind of get to see more of Beck and how things are really changing for him as we're getting more layers of perplexity to his character. And the next time we see him, he's out here fighting with other S ranks, because Jin-Woo eventually, after the penultimate moment we've been waiting on, he finally heals his mother. She's back alive. Jin-Woo has a huge moment where he just finally lets in all this that he's been bearing on himself. He's the individual who put the weight of everything on of his family for the last 4 years on his shoulders, because his mom's been asleep for 4 years. And he's been raising his sister on an E-rank salary, making sure she's straight with schooling, making sure he's surviving the dungeons. Then he had his moment, his reawakening, and now he finally pulled everything off. We're gonna have to see what's gonna happen with Jin Woo now, because hopefully he's not one of those individuals that had only one goal in mind, hit that goal, and then as soon as they hit it, they're like, now what? What's next for me? What do I do from here? How am I supposed to kind of like progress? Because like, even with everything going on, being summoned by the Hunters Guild to ask for help, he's having reservations about going and leveling up even further. He's just kind of like, well, I got what I wanted, so it's like, do I need to go? He's just
uh,
kind of like, I'll think about it. I'll get back to you. He's not as forward as he normally would be. He's not trying to continue to level up, which, just truth be said, if you did not fairly win your fight against that first monarch, if there's others, you could be in for a world of hurt.
well, I think that's part of the realization for him because when he had the moment with his mother, when he finally, when you see when he was trying to put it to her lips, to get her to drink the potion, he was shaking. Like he was nervous. He was like, so the fact is that it worked quickly. It healed the wounds. It healed, her aging and stuff like that. Like it looked like it brought her back to the state of when she first went into the sleep. So with that being said, you can see all that weight was lifted off his shoulders, and that's why he cried. That's why he got it out, so that he did exactly what he needed to do. And the same thing with his sister; like they were so happy, and again, it's a great moment for him. But now, because that weight's lifted, I think that he is definitely gonna have the ability to fight better. Like again, he was striving for something, and that does give you a push. But I think he's gonna be able to fight better because now you got to think about I have more to protect now. All right. His mother wasn't really in a like she was like he was trying to save her. But now he needs to keep her to protect her and his sister because this stuff is coming for him in his home now. And he's got one of the strongest magical powers. It's gonna hone in on him at some point in time. Like they're gonna come after him. So that being said, to protect his family, he's gonna have to fight. To protect the possibility of a love interest blooming with Cha, he's gonna have to fight and help defend her. Like there's several things that I think he's gonna have a realization at some point that he needs to continue to fight and keep his world safe. And also one of the reasons I think because his father was mentioned in this, and the fact that his father was a firefighter before he became a hunter. Shout out because us firefighters are awesome. So the fact is that he was a firefighter beforehand, and that showed that he liked to help people. He wants to do that, and she sees that in her son. Like when Park sees that in her son, so more things to motivate him to go forward. So we're getting good little nuggets here that show why he can keep fighting, and he has more things to hold on to. And then I think the last thing is when we get to that room, and he felt that moment while he was sitting there talking with the chairman guy. Yo, he felt that it's like let's go down and check them out fighting, and you see Bake in beast mode going in, and they are
He's not even fully
scrapping.
transformed
Not
in that
even.
actual form. So it's like, how many levels to Beck is there truly? But it was enough for Jin-Woo to at least take a look. But again, after we get introduced to Beck, and he's like, yeah, Beck's holding back. He's just kind of, he's keeping himself sane because once he goes beast mode, it's like there's no stopping him. He's basically the Hulk. Once he's transformed, the Hulk sometimes cannot differentiate between friend or foe. It's if you are in proximity, you're going to get these big green hands upside your face. And Beck, once he goes beast mode, is definitely much the same. And then as they're sparring, lo and behold, Japan makes their grand entrance with all of their hunters, and they're just like, wow, look at this riffraff. Look at these weaklings. These guys aren't really worth any extra breath from us, which of course Korea is not going to be taking in stride from anybody. So now they're having a little bit of a friendly sparring competition, which will just put our four hand-to-hand combatants against each other and let things kind of play out as best they can. We got some introduction to some of the Japanese hunters, but we haven't seen what they can do. We'll see what's going to happen with Tanaka. We're going to see what's happening with Kuwamoto, with Hoshino, and Tawada. We have a lot of interesting pieces to put in play because we've kind of seen what Shaw can do. We can kind of see what Beck can do, but there's still two big what ifs in that scenario to see ultimately how these S ranks really, really match up. And again, the biggest S rank of them all was mentioned by name drop, so much so that the chairman is more focused on what that individual is doing rather than the actual Jeju Island raid. He's like, Thomas Andre's here. His power, they said national military level power, where he could overpower it by himself. So we need to put some respect on this man's name, even though he's coming over from America. So I'm assuming there's going to be some kind of dark arc there because usually when Americans
Hmm.
can be introduced in that kind of fashion and they have that much I'm going to say patriotism to their character, it's usually well over the top, kind of like imagine Bandit Keith in Yu-Gi-Oh, where it's like it's so patriotic, it's like it's not patriotic. It's a whole nother level of stuff that you're just like, that's not
I
really
mean,
how you want to be represented, but you get how it can be easily transcribed that way. So Andre, he gonna be a problem, but next episode we're gonna get to see some S rank showdown. I'm excited. Is there anything you think I missed in the breakdown?
oh, I mean, yeah, they finna scrap. So you got Cha, Lim, Ma, and Beck, versus the Japanese fighters. And again, these are just the combat fighters, so we're not even including mages, healers, and whatever else they got. So everybody's gonna work in conjunction differently. So we're gonna see how their teamwork is with each other. We're gonna see what their power sets are, what's going on. Are they gonna start pulling out? Or is everything just hand in hand? We don't even know what they use for weapons and stuff like that, and how that's gonna go. Like so, whatever we see now is just the tip of the iceberg versus when they're actually in combat with their gear and what they can do. So that's why I see it. I love how they can't classify Jin-Woo. Like, is he an assassin type, a combat type? Is he a mage? They don't know what he is. And he's that wild card. And that's going to be the best thing is when he actually comes into play. And again, he's not, I'll be honest, I don't think he's on their level in terms of efficiency.
He doesn't have
But
that hand-to-hand combat like everybody else does.
yeah, so he's still working on that. But as far as if just in general with any of the hunters, like his efficiency, I don't think is there where everybody else is because he's used to working solo. These people are set up in teams and they've been working well as teams for X amount of time. So that's the whole thing. Like he's used to working by himself and not really accounting for anyone else. So he's gonna have to scale up in his solo play as well as his team play and start kind of building this stuff up. So what's he gonna do? How's he gonna benefit against everybody else? Or he's gonna have one of those awakening moments where he gets another color change and he gets even stronger. That's kind of what I'm waiting on with him. But I'm excited. This whole arc is about to go ham. And next week is going to be hitting hard, literally with some scrapping. So I'm with it. I'm here for it. Let's get to it.
And remember, folks, the first thing that Goto Ryuji did from Japan when he came into the room, he ignored everyone on the ground level. He ignored the chairman. He looked directly at Jin-Woo and was trying to assess him. He was basically sizing him up, trying to find the biggest, baddest dude in the room. We should keep an eye on that moving forward. What you should also be doing, hitting that lovely subscribe button. You just listened to us talk for about 16 minutes, so clearly there's something in the information here that you are interested in. Subscribing is free, as is hitting the like button and leaving a comment with your thoughts in the description below on anything you think we may have missed. I've been Brent with Chaos himself for more solo leveling. We'll see you next week.